What happens to you when you die as a Christian? This is such an important subject because in the end, you're not going to live here forever. So what's going to happen? Make no mistake about it. Paul says, when we die, we depart and be with the Lord, which is better than anything we can have in this life. So don't believe that your soul sleeps and that you got to wait for the resurrection. No, your body sleeps, but your soul is in the presence of God. But you not only depart to be with Christ, and that alone is worth it, but you're going to be in his holy presence. So how are you going to handle the full presence of God? Here's what God's going to do. He's going to give you 3 crowns. And these 3 crowns will enable you to stand in the presence of God with such confidence and enjoy eternity. The Apostle Paul mentions one of those crowns in James 1:12. Blessed is a man who perseveres under trial, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. One of the first crowns that you're going to be given is a crown of life. Think about it. In fact, all the sadness, the greatest sadness we can ever experience in this world is death. When death happens, great sadness can come upon us. But in that world to come, there will be no more death, no more mourning, no more crying. We're going to be given the crown of life, and we ourselves will not be afraid of dying. Think about it in this world, how we try everything to keep from dying. We put on our seatbelts to make sure if we get into an accident, we don't die. We take medication to make sure we keep living longer. We check our food to make sure nothing spoils, so we don't want to eat something that makes us sick or can kill us. We check our body. I think there's a growth here because we're afraid that might be cancer, that we might die. But in that next world, we're not going to be having any fear of death, for we will be given the crown of life, and we cannot die anymore. The second crown we're given is in 1 Peter 5:4. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the crown of glory that will never fade away. The crown of glory. You see, sin has brought shame to us. And even though we might know we're forgiven by the Lord, there is that element of shame because we often face some of the consequences of our sin, right? Maybe you've gone through a divorce and now you're paying alimony, you're suffering, you're in other words, there's some suffering. Maybe you committed infidelity or you committed a crime and you're facing consequences of your sin. And those consequences may still linger in our lives, and that brings us shame. But friend, in that new world, God's going to give us the crown of glory to remove all shame of any sin in our lives. And the final crown we're given is mentioned in 2 Timothy 4:8. For there is in store for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day, and not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing. Notice the crown of righteousness. People often ask, well, are we not already the righteousness of God? Yes, and we are to put on the breastplate of righteousness. But a crown we do not put on, God puts on. And that crown of righteousness is different. You see, even though we're the righteousness of God, which means in God's sight, he has forgiven us. But the crown of righteousness means I cannot even sin anymore. Oh, I will still have my full free will, but I will not have a desire to sin. Sin is removed from our life for all of eternity. And it is that crown of righteousness that enables me to stand before Christ, who is purely righteous, because then I know I am one with him. For like him, I will not want to sin. And also, even though we forgive people, sometimes we still remember what they did to us. But in that crown of righteousness, we're not even going to remember what people did wrong to us, nor are we going to remember the wrong we ever did to them. People sometimes ask me, Bishop, if so-and-so goes to heaven, I sure don't want to go to heaven if they're going to be there. Oh, no, you're only thinking that way because you don't have the crown of righteousness. But in that day, when you're given the crown of righteousness, you will have no bad feelings toward anyone that will be in heaven. You will have complete righteousness with no ability to sin. And those are the 3 crowns you will be given upon your death.